It's another episode of Circle of Trades. We're going old school. This is a flashback to the way we used to do things when this was strictly an audio podcast. But I'm Todd Studer. With us, Travis Waldstein, Air Serve Heating and Air Conditioning in Council Bluffs, Iowa, Waldstein Plumbing, and any other business that he may have thought of starting over the past few weeks.
Yeah, OnlyFans wasn't available, so they
Well,
said no, Travis. So they just stay in your lane, so it's all good. So
you need to log into the dark web for that. Say, on a complete side note that matters nothing to anybody but me, and since you're aware of it, I actually heard from my lawyer today.
Fantastic.
Yeah, just out of the blue. He gave me a call, and he said, all that stuff that's going on with the ruling from the Federal Trade Commission and the non-compete? Yeah, don't worry about it. You're fine. So
that's good. That's fantastic. So yeah, there you go. So that's fantastic. So we ain't got to worry about that anymore.
No, we're not gonna worry about it. We're just going full steam ahead. And should anyone decide they want to make some waves, well, we'll just give them this finger for now.
There's only 5, so process of elimination. This one's broke today. This one's broke for right now. So.
We have had a interesting year. Weather-wise, we've had a lot of storms, and it got crazy hot for a while. And now, as we're recording this, we've gone kind of back through a cooler spell. I was camping over the weekend, and Friday night, it got down into the 40s.
Fantastic. So that means you froze your tail off unless you had a good sleeping bag.
My sleeping bag wasn't bad, but it was still, it was a little chilly. It was much better Saturday night because low in the upper 50s, and that's great sleeping weather when you're outside.
Yeah, until you got to get up and go pee about 3 o'clock in the morning.
It didn't used to be that way, but it is now. You kind of have to plan ahead. But anyway, with all the weather that we've been having, how does that affect what it is that you're doing, and especially now that you've got 2 different businesses going on simultaneously?
It's a loaded question. It's definitely, this year's been a way different dynamic than anything I've been in business 15 years, and the weather reminds me a lot of either 2011 or 2012, where we just didn't have much of a summer. And that winter before, we had a pretty mild winter. And because I remember that pretty well. I mean, it was warm half the winter. We got a couple weeks of cold, and then it, went in the spring, and it was in the 70s in June. I mean, it was kind of like, no one's turned on the air conditioner because they're outside doing whatever. And this year's been kind of the same thing. What I will tell you, what the plumbing side of it is, of course it's a startup, it's kind of as I expected. Work is not the issue. We have plenty of stuff going on right now. Got a sewer line we're dealing with today that, had a partial collapse. Someone farmer fixed it. And I say that prefacing that I grew up on a family farm in Northwest Iowa. So my grandpa, rest his soul, I apologize about that. But, a lot of stuff with plumbing, drain stuff. We got one new house going on right now that we're just starting to rough in the underground. We've got water lines that we're running, and we got a call today from a place that's looking to get a bunch of bathrooms remodeled, toilets, sinks, do the iron, but then they want to refreshen up the bathrooms as well. And, so, work is not an issue. People is an issue. And the good part is, when we've been a little bit slow, I've got guys that are diverse, that have done a lot of different stuff. And so the nice part about that is right now is, the years past, we might have been struggling, or guys would have been sending home. Not right now. We got, guys working on the plumbing side and vice versa. So it's actually worked out. I'm going to knock on wood when I say this. This worked out pretty good. And, some of the stuff we're running into, we're running into storm damage stuff, too, from the storm and, from the winds. And it's like, you don't think about plumbing and high winds becoming a problem, but we've ran into a couple pretty serious deals from the winds and stuff that we've had here locally on the plumbing side. that is just been, I'd consider it not normal.
How I'm trying to think of an example of wind damage on plumbing because typically it's buried.
Well, with a tree that's growing right over the top of the sewer line that's going out to the street, flips over and the roots are going down to the ground, and the tree goes like this. The roots also go like this,
Right.
and
Tears the plumbing up. Okay, that
oh
makes sense.
yeah, we've had a couple of them. We've had there was one gal that had a tree fall over and bust the stack that goes up through her roof, the vent
Right.
stack for the plumbing, and it busted it clear down at the base in the basement. So you got a 40-50 foot of cast iron that's just snapped off, and of course you can't just replace a section of it. You to do it right, you got to replace all of it. We ran into stuff like that. A couple weeks ago. Well, Storm Lady, yeah, we had a place here in town. The maintenance guy, they had a door dock. This is a commercial building. They have a door dock that goes down, so you can back down into the dock and back up to a building to unload a semi trailer. Well, as part of that door dock, there's supposed to be a drain down there. Well, the drain is not worked. What somebody decided to do is they put a sump pump down in that pit, and they ran a 40 foot of hose out of the pit, and they shoved the hose into the main line for the sewer for the building. Shoved this pipe 12 foot down into the ground. Well, the pipe's 8 foot underground. So basically, someone did this about a month ago, and the entire building drain system stopped working.
Oh my.
So we're out there on a Tuesday. Says, well, we're talking about this, and then we got Todd. Everybody says, hey, we're having issues. We're having issues. We're here gurgling, and going outside. It's like, that's not supposed to be like that. We end up having to run a snake back through from the outside because it had two clean outs on the outside. Ran it clean back to the building so we could get that other hose gone. And once we got the other hose out, miraculously the plumbing started working inside
Everything
this
was
building.
fine.
And they're like, what happened? I said, well, some ingenious, I'm assuming, maintenance guy. So, yeah, we did not make somebody's day. I'll put it to you that way. So,
Well, and yeah, so are they hiring you then to fix that drain so it works so you don't have to use a sump pump there?
well, I'm not sure what happened with that part because the property there, they were had to get the plumbing work inside the building. As far as that sump deal, that's that landlord, they said they was going to have him take care of that, but that's all tied in to the same spot where everything else is. So, and if you're talking an outside drain, if it's a storm drain, it's supposed to tie into its own separate sewer. Generally, in Council Bluffs in the last 10 to 15 years, they've separated most of the sewers. I'm not going to say all of them because I'd be wrong, but they've tried to separate. So you have drainage sewers for like your plumbing in the house, and then you get your storm sewers for out in the street that, drains. So, somewhere they've got an issue with that, and not sure what they're going to do with that, but I guarantee you this, if it was full of water today, somebody probably got a phone call. So,
Since you made the announcement that Waldstein Plumbing was coming along, and that was less than a year ago,
yep.
um, how has things gone? Did you set expectations in the beginning, or was this kind of a blank slate for you and saying, let's just see what comes on and make plans from there?
You know, when we got it, we didn't know. I mean, I had an idea in my head, but as I learned from starting business, you had the greatest idea in the world, and 3 months into it, you could be just 100% wrong. The good part is, it's like when I started my business, I had no idea. I mean, I thought I did, but I figured out that I didn't know anything about the business side of things. And my first 2 years, you learned a lot. You screwed up a lot. With this, it has, you know, and I don't feel like I'm bragging when I say this. I feel we do a good job uh, taking care of our customers, trying to get back to them, following up, picking up the phone, or if they get our answering service, the answer service at least answers the phone, and then we get back with the customer. So we're working on it. We're always working on that kind of stuff, but that's part of what we do. Um, but as far as the plumbing goes, from day one, I mean, I want to say it's Hayden's dream. It's been my dream too, in some levels. I just didn't want to have to get down. I'll be honest. I just didn't want to have to drink. I just didn't want to have to snake toilets. That was my whole thing. I said I don't care about doing water lines. I don't care about doing water heaters. I like geothermal. I like hydro. But listen, I don't want to snake toilets. That was my thing. And that goes back to 2001 when I lived back in Spencer for a year, and I worked for a plumbing shop. And yeah, I liked HVAC a whole lot more then, but it's, you know, so traumatic experiences. But yeah, I mean, going back to what the plan, it's really probably gone about how we expected it, all things considered. We've learned some stuff early on, where the industry, I mean, we've had a pretty good idea about where the industry is going, with lead pipe certifications coming up, with just repairs that are coming up. And, part of the thing is just answering the phone. People call and they need help, and that's picking up and answering the phone. Um, one of the things we've had to do at this point that, that I don't want to say is unexpected, but we're not really in a position as far as a plumbing shop to be on call 24 hours per se. And, we've had one or two instances where someone calls us at 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, Hayden's my on-call tech, and he's got a month and a half old babies at home right now, and we haven't really we're finally getting another service plumber hired that maybe we can expand that, but we've had a couple situations with there to where we weren't going to be able to get out there till the next day. But other than that, it's been really good, and we're just having to. Um, it's kind of like, okay, here's where we're at. What's this going to look like at the end of the year? What's this going to look like, a year from now? And, as long as we can find good people that, want to get into the industry, or we can find people to come on board. We've been very fortunate. We found, one guy that we hired he's a licensed Omaha juryman, and we found our guy here actually just made him an offer on Friday that is has an Iowa journeyman, and so we've got guys that are skilled, fairly young, but they understand the industry, and from what I've seen, that they weren't necessarily trained by us, but they kind of have our, what I guess I call our code of values about how we want to do business and how we want to treat the customers right, and so that's helping. It's so it's good. We're having to look at hiring a CSR, customer service rep, just to handle the plumbing side, you know, right away. We're getting, the phones are busy enough and with their schedule and stuff. And just some of the stuff with permits and other stuff, we need to probably have a person in office. And if you'd have told me that, I figured that'd probably be a year down the road, but that's just kind of where things have gone because people, I hate to say this, a lot of contractors don't want to answer their phones. They're busy enough and they don't care. But this is a customer service business at the end of the day. So if you don't not picking up the phone, it's kind of hard to grow, if you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying. Are you so far? You've been concentrating almost exclusively, maybe completely exclusively, on existing residences, and you're not doing any new construction, correct?
They have very little. We've got one builder that we've done HVAC for years, and that we're his plumber actually went off on his own too. He worked for a company here in town. Great guy. I've got nothing but positive to say about him. But he went off and did his own thing, and so we're actually doing a new home. We're starting to rough in from from get go for him. Might be something down the road eventually where we hire a crew, but I'm not clamoring to get into a lot of the new home stuff. Now, if we get asked to, sure, but I'm not. I'm not clamoring to do 50, 100 homes a year as far as new construction. I think there's enough business in the service and and the repair and remodeling part that that's what our HVAC stuff is. A lot of that's about. So getting into doing a lot of new construction, yeah, not necessarily bread and butter, but at this point, you take a look at what's coming, and you decide. Really comes about what can we do capability wise, and what can't we do capability wise. And the reason we've had to hire people is the work's there, and it's like, do we have the capacity? Do we have the capability to do the work? So,
I'm going to shift gears on you here for a second, Travis, because we've known each other now for a few years, and I'm trying to think of a time when you actually took some extended time off.
Time
And
off.
I can't think of a time that,
Time
I mean,
off.
you take a half a day to be able to get your camper over so you're ready for the Hawkeye games or that kind of thing. But as far as like taking a vacation or something like that, I don't know. In the entire time that I've known you, I don't think you've done
You've been talking to my wife.
it.
She wants to travel the world. I don't like to get on an airplane. If we can hop on my truck and travel, I'm fine. But if I got to hop on an airplane, it's like, forget this mess.
Well, you can actually get anywhere with you can get in your truck and drive just about anywhere. I think there's a ferry that runs across the Bering Strait now, so
There you go.
you can go from Alaska to Russia. How about
Hey,
that?
hey, there you go. Hey, you know what? My grandfather in the early '60s took my dad and his brothers up to Alaska, up the Canadian Highway in their
Hmm.
in their Ford station wagon. So there you go. My wife would kill me if I did that. Matter of fact, I would go up and see the Edmonton Oilers in person this winter, and I'm debating if I'm going to drive up to Edmonton or if I'm going to fly. I said, you know what, I've been a lifetime fan. Of course, now they're good again, so it's like, okay, now there's something to cheer about. But I want to go up to Canada for a January February game up there, and I know what my wife's going to say. She's going to be like, "Oh heck no."
Well, now you do need a valid passport to get into Canada, and as little as you've traveled, I'm not sure you would have one of those.
I do
Oh,
own
you
a
do?
I do have a passport.
Okay.
It may or may not be fake. No, okay.
Yeah,
The
they're not really
TSA,
paying
it is
attention.
not fake. I will promise you, it's not fake. It might be due to renew here pretty soon.
Well, the kicker of it is, and I've been to Canada one time, and I found it a whole lot easier to get into Canada than to come back.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, have you met me? Although when I flew last time I flew to Mexico, like going through this customs and all this stuff, and they were patting everybody down, and they just looked at me and said, "Go."
No, you're fine.
So the guy didn't want to mess around with me that day for whatever reason. I don't know if how he looked or how he smelled or what the deal was. So
No, an Edmonton trip would be kind of fun. I
my my
wonder
wife
about.
my wife doesn't think so. So
No, well, I'm a little concerned about how the Canadian fan base would take you coming in there, uh, and especially it depends on who they're playing. I mean, who would be Edmonton's big rival?
well,
I don't,
Calgary, of
is
course.
Calgary? Oh,
Hey, the
the
Canadian team.
former, yes, the former Atlanta franchise.
Yeah, the former Atlanta franchise. So you got the Calgary Flames. Vancouver. They played Vancouver in the playoffs last year. The America's won the Stanley Cup for the last 30 years, which is just a travesty. I'm sorry, and I'm an American. I listen. I love football. I love whatever, but hockey's not our sport.
No, but
The
do you know why that is? It's because all of the American teams they poached all the Canadian players because the Canadian players can make more money down here.
well, yeah.
They pay less taxes.
Although that's changing. Although that's actually changing now. You can actually make more money in Canada now, believe it or not, than you can depending on now. If you're in Florida, no. If you're in one of these states like Florida or Texas or well, not California, but anywhere where you ain't got part of the income tax, no.
Right.
But both like if you're in Chicago or Detroit or New York City, where the cities will tax you per game off your paycheck and you
Oh,
have to
geez.
pay it. Oh yeah. So there you go. So yeah, no less said, for me, I was in the Navy, so I traveled some when I was in the Navy just because we're on ship and stuff. Um, my wife wants to go to Europe real bad. I'd like to go to Europe. I want to take one of them, one of them boat cruises. I want to go see Auschwitz just to see, what that sick bastard actually did. Hitler.
Hmm.
World War II stuff. Some of the, and remember, why we were in World War II and did what we did. That stuff's kind of cool. I just say when it's cool, it's neat to see. I guess I'm not going to say cool that it happened. I guess so let me clarify that. Um, you know, um, we've traveled a little bit with my franchise, and I like to go there just to piss people off. I mean, I hate to say it, but you know, but there are stuff, but me and my wife about like 4 or 5 days, and it's like, okay, it's time to come home.
Right.
For me, my wife wants to retire in 5 years and she wants to travel. And I said, we can travel some, but I mean, if you think, and I might go out of town for a little bit, but I said, if you think I'm getting away from the business and being around home and chasing grandkids, going to football games and wrestling or, whatever else, I pray to God my kids don't play soccer. I might have to poke my eyeballs out, but sorry, not my sport. I just, I like Iowa. I like the Midwest. I don't have this great big desire to go sit on an ocean, or go drink, Tahiti's. I mean, I can sit home. I was down in Brayville, Iowa today, and I went across the border to Missouri, and I bought 2 cases of Yingling. I don't know. I haven't really drank it before, but they say it's a great beer. We'll see. But
I thought you seemed a little bit slower today.
well, yeah. Well, well,
sorry for my Missouri fans.
well, if you saw my Facebook post, what my kid said yesterday, taxes are cheaper and the education gets slower.
And the old joke that goes back to when you and I were kids was, that you take the bottom 2 tiers of Iowa and give it to Missouri, and the IQ of both states goes up.
No. Well, me and my cousin Jeff, rest his soul, we used to talk about, because he lived in Des Moines. Of course, I lived in Council Bluffs. He says, I used to think that that Iowa stopped Interstate 80, but he says when we moved down to Des Moines and Council Bluffs, I said we got to move it down to at least to Highway 34. So
you're not going all the way to Highway 2. Just
no, you're going to Highway 34. So yeah, no, yeah, we had that conversation a few times. So. But no, as far as traveling goes, I mean, there's stuff I do. My wife would like to go out east. She would like to go see Washington, D.C. She did mention that. She asked me next year what game I want to go to, and I haven't looked at 2025 schedule, but I said if Iowa plays at Penn State next year, I said I'd probably take a week off.
Wow.
Go to Happy Valley, maybe go out and see, go out to Gettysburg and maybe down to Washington, D.C., just do a 4 or 5 day trip. Well, I did last fall. We went to Wisconsin and we went up to, we went up to in the northeast, southwest Wisconsin, northeast Iowa, and just kind of hung out along the Mississippi for a couple of days.
That's pretty country.
Yeah, to me that's I enjoy that kind of stuff. So, that's why I like to drive, because you can see stuff. On a plane you don't see stuff. You get there and you go to Phoenix and, you got a Chili's and you got an Applebee's, you got all the same crap you do here in Iowa. It's like, show me something different. Show me something unique, don't go to San Antonio and walk in the salt caves, when it's 70 degrees and 100% humidity on a 100-degree day when you got to hop on an airplane. Done that before. Yeah, people look at you when you hear an airplane. They can smell you 4 rows away because you hit this.
I once did a college softball tournament. It was a national softball tournament for Division III, and it was in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Okay,
and that really felt like an entirely different part of the country. You get into Wisconsin, and it's altogether different than it is in Iowa.
Listen, I'm fat. I like beer and I like cheese. And I.
So for you, it's like, it's just like going to the neighbor's house.
I could very easily be in Wisconsin. I know the problem is they're a little bit more to the left than probably what I am, but just depends on what part of the state we're in. So,
well, yeah, you're going to have to live pretty close to Lambeau, and then
Green Bay up there. Yeah, probably not going to be spending a lot of time in Madison. Although I had a great time in Madison when I went last fall. I actually want to go back again. So for a football game, that was a fun place to be and hang out. So.
Well, you do know how often that Penn State Iowa game, when it's played in Happy Valley, is the whiteout game.
Oh yeah, and they usually lose about half them whiteout games, so that's even better.
So you going and wearing Hawkeye black, you're gonna stand out like a tick on a shaved dog. They show
anyway. So.
They show the crowd, and there's just going to be this black speck in a sea of white. Oh, there's Travis.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Iowa-Wisconsin game here last fall when they played. We're sitting down in the front row, and there's a whole bunch of Wisconsin fans. Because Deacon Hill turned the damn ball over. All these Wisconsin fans are excited. I'm just sitting there shaking my damn head. They go to TV break, and here's my fat head shaking back and forth. And here's all my friends saying, "What the hell are you doing on TV?" I said, "I don't know."
That was, yeah, I had a buddy once that he'd gone to the Georgia Tech game, and I was watching the game, and somehow he gets down in the student section, and 3/4 of the screen was taken up with his dumb face. It was like a close up. They were trying to show the student section, and there he is.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, you know what sticks out? It's all good, but yeah, as far as like travel and stuff, I don't mind doing it. I don't know. It's got to be somewhere. We're gonna go to Curacao or Curaçao or whatever. It's some island off the coast of Venezuela from my franchise leadership conference. Which, I want to go see the island, but I don't get excited about all the rah stuff that goes with it. I'd rather let's just go sit there at the pool or let's go check out some local stuff. I don't need to.
Oh, it's a big pep rally then.
Oh yeah, don't worry. Yeah, it's like the last time I went. Well, I went to one. They had a. It was a whiteout. You know what? I don't own. I don't own any white clothes. You know what? I don't own any red clothes either. So I do have a Marine Corps shirt. I will take that back. I do have a red Marine Corps shirt, but they're asking me to wear a whiteout to a party. It's like, pfft. So I wore my black shirt and bib overalls. And everybody literally says, "Oh, that's just Travis being Travis."
Hey, back when I was still actually working for a company, they had a Christmas party and they were having a costume contest, and I was informed that it was pretty much mandatory. So I took a piece of paper and wrote costume on it and taped it to my chest. I said, it's a generic costume.
Yeah. Hey, yeah,
I got it at the $5 store.
Hey, it's like the Nebraska Bull shirts you could buy at Walmart for the last several years. 4 for $10.
We should probably talk a little bit about actual business. This time of year, when it's cooler like it is, and even though you're always expecting it to be blistering hot in August, what types of things should people be looking out for? Is everything just kind of on pause right now? Is there anything that folks in their houses can say you should be paying attention to this? Is this working correctly, or is it is everything just kind of coasting right now?
At this point of summer, and summer for us, because by mid-September we'll start doing fall furnace checks. I mean, for us, if you live in the South and you don't have a winter time, that's terrible. But for us, we'll start mid-September, might even be, first day of fall. But, once we'll start getting into these here within, right at a month, 3 weeks to a month, we'll start thinking about right now. I mean, any maintenance that we had scheduled is done. I mean, we might have a few stragglers here and there, but, it isn't like in April or May where everybody wants you there. But at this point, if you have failures at this point, especially if we get some warm temperatures, usually by this point, I hate to say this, usually they're pretty drastic failures. Usually I don't want to say catastrophic, but, a lot of times it is. And you know what? Some people, this is my favorite thing. 31st of August, summer is over. And I said, I got news for you. I said, we're running AC calls sometimes till damn near the 1st of November. So if you think the 31st of August is the end of summer, I said, I got news for all of you. So,
you and I both growing up in Northwest Iowa, and you can attest to this just as much as I can. One of the hottest days of the year occurred every year during the Clay County Fair, and that's in September.
Yeah.
And that's also very far north.
Yeah, you'd have one of the hottest days of the year. You'd have one rainy day.
Yeah.
You'd have one day where you might see snowflakes. It's like, okay, I mean, you want to talk about 4 seasons, you can have it. And
you're going to get it all in about a 36-hour period there in Spencer, Iowa.
Well, you just hope you don't get 14 inches of rain, but that's a story for another day. But, at this point of the year, as far as just with our stuff, keeping filters changed, obviously. Keeping units clean. I mean, at this point, stuff's ran a lot. What we're seeing now, some of what we're running into is, we do quite a bit of geothermal. I have in the past. I like geothermal, but I'm not as excited about geothermal as I was 10 years ago. I think there's a lot of heat pump technology has got better to where you don't have to put $15,000 worth of loops in the ground. Because with the geothermal, that's part of your outdoor unit becomes a big loop field you put in the yard. The technology is going to be such that I think there's somewhat of a dwindling return on investment. Now, there's going to be some geogate that tells me I'm full of it, and I'm just going to say, well, when you start looking at, and I'm going to use technical terms here, COP and EER, all these wonderful government terms that they use. 10 years ago compared to now, they used to be like way out here. Now it's like, okay, they're here. And, when you're talking, a $15,000 job versus a $40,000 job, can you justify, that added expense? And so I've had this conversation with customers. But I'm going back to geo as far as repair stuff. What we've seen is if you don't have properly sized loop fields, by this point, if the units have ran a lot, their loop fields, you know, if they're too small, if they're not right, they can have issues with performance because the loop fields have gotten too warm, which is not a good thing. That's what we've seen on the geothermal mini splits, cottonwood. I mean, it's if you're doing your maintenance and you're doing your due diligence at this point, you ain't gonna sit there and babysit all day, every day. But it's like anything else. You take your car for an oil change every 3 to 5,000 miles, and you do your regular stuff. And not things are gonna break eventually, but hopefully nothing too drastic, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Wanted to talk to you a bit about this program that we are doing right now, Circle of Trade. You've been at this now for right about a year and a half.
Yeah, yeah. People have been put up with my BS for a year and a half. My wife had, my wife and me been married for 27 years, something like that. And, it's, I tell people it's lucky it's 27 minutes, but that's just, and we're at 31 now. So Todd, you've got a record going.
Well, there was a joke that I heard a long time ago that somebody was asking a couple had been married for 50 years. Well, what's your secret to a long, happy marriage? And the man said, the entire thing has seemed like 5 minutes underwater. I thought, there's a clever man.
I need to twist that and turn that towards my franchise sometime. I'm sure it gets up. You go, really, Travis? You're gonna go there? And it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go there. So,
But and we talked about this a little bit last week when you came over and joined me on the live webcast that I did from the Council Bluffs Farmers Market. But the point to this podcast is, I mean, it's not like a big giant advertisement for Waldstein Plumbing and Air Serv. The real reason is that there's a definite need. I don't know if we're in crisis point yet, but we got to be getting close. That there is not people and young men and women to take over this industry, and it's not just heating and air and plumbing. It's across the trades that it's an aging population that's doing this work.
well, and it's a problem. And the thing is, it's getting worse. The baby boomers are getting older. I mean, I hate to say it, some of them are dying off. Um, I could make a Joe Biden comment, but I won't. I'll refrain from that. But but honestly, as far as trades go, as far as people, skilled labor, hands on, that have learned it. I mean, I don't care if you're welding. I don't care if you're electrician, carpenter, framer, plumber, even just a controls technician. I mean, there's just so many facets. Road worker. I'd say road workers, but some of them guys. You got guys that have to be manual labor, but you got to have guys that know what the hell they're doing. And unfortunately, it is getting to crisis mode. I was talking, to my cousin Sean, poor Cyclone fan, by the way. Sorry, I'd throw that out there. Um, yeah,
I actually brought up the name Dwayne Crutchfield in a phone conversation earlier today. So yeah, Cyclone.
fantastic.
Yeah.
There you go. So, but no, my cousin Johnny's like, yeah, says I'm the young man of the group. I'm like, Sean, you're like 41, so you'd be considered middle aged for most people, but for farmer, he's a young pup. It's like but half the guys deal with are 70, 80 years old. And that they're not going to leave the farm, because they don't want the kids to take it over and sell it or do whatever. There's another industry right there that's having a hard time keeping the younger generation. Of course, damn near got to go broke to just get into it.
Oh
Um,
yeah, with the price of farm ground now, it's insane how much that's going for.
yeah, but you look at it, even law enforcement. I mean, you live in the military. You're hearing stories about the military. You're hearing law enforcement. They can't get people. They can't get people to fill their quotas, or people that are unqualified, because everyone wants to do THC and smoke weed and do stupid stuff. Obviously law enforcement, they have criteria. I get that part of it, but they're the trades and just people that are skilled is in is a way they're in demand. There's definitely a shortage. If you're not, and this has been my thing, I hear all this stuff about bells and whistles and marketing and AI, and oh, you got to do this, and I'm like, if I've got skilled people that can do the damn job and we train them, I'll take that every day under some sort of box to tell me how to talk or think. I'm sorry, it's there's such a shortage. So anytime I get an opportunity, I talked to a gal last week. She's a realtor, very successful realtor in this town, and she talked to me about her son and getting into it. I've actually got a gal, it's a friend of mine. His daughter, has been working here in town in a career, but she wants to, if she wants to, take that degree to another level, she's got to go to vet school and spend $150,000, and then come out and not make what a 40-year seasoned veterinarian is going to make. And she's starting with us on Wednesday to kind of give us an opportunity. I've got a 26-year-old who just started, went to school with my boys. He's done some stuff, but he's wanting to get in and learn it. And we've got him. I told him, I said, we're going to get them both trained in the plumbing and the HVAC side of it, just to kind of get their feet wet, kind of understand, to learn the ins and outs. And anytime I get an opportunity to talk about it, when you're talking, you can go out and have a 4-year apprenticeship program, and a skilled apprenticeship program where you're learning something. You have a shop that's teaching you something, and you can make 6 figures, and there's no decimal points in that 6 figures, by the way. Um, that has a way of resonating. And $100,000 doesn't sound as much like it did 20 years ago, but there's a lot of people that are coming out of school with a 4-year degree and they got 100 grand in debt and they're making the same 40,000 if they wouldn't have went to school. So that people are going to try to figure out how they're going to pay off that debt. It's a great opportunity. Now it's hot, it's cold. You may not be able to do your TikTok all day, or your X, or whatever it is that people, social media, or be an influencer. But if you want to, but if you're not afraid to work, you're not afraid to get dirty, and you want to have job satisfaction. It's a what we do is great too, but there's a lot of them trades I think have a real good opportunity, and so that's how this got started. You know, and talking to young kids and talking to people in industry about what they're doing. As far as industry wide, I was talking to a guy here a couple months back, construction company down in Glenwood. That talking about that. Anytime you get a chance to, the Department of Labor is there. But what happens is, and I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but when you start talking to the Department of Labor knows how to spend money. The government knows how to spend money and burn through money. So, which is good as bad. The problem is not everybody at the Department of Labor, they think they know, but it's like everything else with the government. They really don't know, but they think they know. Oh, sorry, I said that, but
No, you're not.
you no. But if you really want to learn a trade, you got to find companies that are willing to take you under your umbrella and work with you and train. And they work with an apprenticeship program, but you work with skilled craftsmen and tradesmen that have been doing this for a long time. You know, I think about Rick Grable. You know, we had him on my show a couple of months back. Great guy. You know, too bad he's a Nebraska fan, but you know, I don't hold that against him. So, but great guy. I mean, look at what look at what he does. I mean, he didn't have to go to school for any of that stuff. You know, it's hands on, it's learning, and he's able to provide for him and his family. You know, it's huge. And there's lots of opportunities to do that. It's like anything else, you got to put the time in. Just because you went to a 4-year school doesn't mean you're going to become CEO of the company, walk out of school. You're going to still start at the bottom. The difference is, my certificate comes with zero debt, and you have a trade, you have a skill that, you want to go anywhere in the country. Once you have that license
Mm-hmm.
and apply, you'll at least be eligible to test, unless you're dealing with Omaha and plumbing. But that's because the Omaha Plumbing Board sucks. I'm sorry, I'll say that. I'll say exactly how I feel about that. But mechanical board's fine, no problem. Mechanical plumbing board sucks. But um, but there, you have an opportunity to get in, at least be able to license in their jurisdiction. So if you want to move to California, LA, Texas, wherever, you've got something that'll make sure that you have work and are able to provide for your family. So,
Yeah, because what it is that you do is needed everywhere.
yep.
You think about, there are certain fields that are very, very important. Medical field, it comes up with one with what your wife does.
Mm-hmm.
Guess what? There's an HVAC system running through that hospital that has to
Absolutely.
work. It has to work.
Yeah.
And there was an electrician that put all of that stuff together. The electrical side of it. There was plumbers in there. There was masonry people in there. All of that stuff is so your wife can do the excellent work that she does.
Mm-hmm.
It all
Wow.
works. It all works together. And without people in the trades to be able to do this, and as you said, the ironic part about all of this is it is a really good career.
Oh, absolutely.
You can have a very financially prosperous life
Yeah.
working in the trades if you apply yourself, if you learn well, if you show up for work every day, and just do the things that you would be doing anyway.
Yeah. And here's the thing: just because you go into HVAC or plumbing, and I've had a couple opportunities over the years, and I did not pursue them. One, I kicked myself from it. Then the owner of the company says I did all right for myself. But another one that we talked to is a company called Steris, and basically they go in and they fix like surgical equipment and they fix machines in hospitals and stuff like that. They wanted to hire me, close to 20 years ago now, to come in and be not what I'd say a surgical tech, but they wanted me to be a machine tech to work on all this stuff where, all the neat tools that the doctors get to work on, and, saw bones off so you put in shoulders and all that fun stuff. It'd be the technician that works on that stuff. Boy, bad part is the job traveled. I had young kids times. I'm like, nah, not with the travel part. That's just it. Make me just didn't make any sense. But there's a lot of offshoots that once you have a skill or a trade. I use my brother-in-law as an example. And no, not the fact he's a Vikings fan, but I remind him of that too. But he went to school for electronics, but he grew up on a farm. He learned how to do a lot of different things. He knows quite a bit about HVAC. He knows controls. He could be a master electrician, but he works for utilities, so he doesn't have to. But he's rebuilt, basically generator machines that were World War II, post World War II engines, for a power plant in Northwest Iowa. He's got to work on, some really cool stuff that has nothing for what he went to school on, but he's had enough experience and, has enough mechanical knowledge and electrical knowledge that it's allowed him to do all kinds of different stuff in his career and make a very good career out of it. So, you never know what the opportunity is going to be. What you want to be is when that opportunity presents itself, to be prepared and be in a position. And if you don't do anything to help yourself, that's tough. And that's what I tell a lot of young kids is put yourself in a position where if you get noticed or if you get whatever, that um, um, you'll have that opportunity to grow and and do something that's new. Because companies will train you. That's not a problem. I mean, I think about Siemens or Johnson Controls or there's so many different because just what I do. And you get into ag stuff. There's a newer company in town called Meristem. They're in a seed corn and seed corn like Pioneer, DeKalb. I mean, you know, there's just so many facets of things that if you want to do it and you don't want to go to school, there's places for you to get on and learn to do it because the companies are going to train you and they're going to probably do a better job a lot of times, especially if you look at a specialty, than if you ever did if you go to school. And that's just the reality of it. So
Well, you talked about some of the different things that you're looking for, not afraid to get dirty, can handle hot and cold and things like that. And I think another very important part is just be teachable.
yep,
Put yourself mentally in a place that, okay, I don't know everything, and it's okay that I don't know everything.
mm-hmm.
And go into it every day with a mindset that I'm going to learn something today. I'm going to
Yeah.
learn something new today and be exposed to something new today and try to incorporate that into your skill set so you don't need as much of a reminder the second time. And if you have that mentality, I think a person can be very, very successful at doing this.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You have to be trainable and be willing to learn new opportunities. I mean, the story that I still come back to, and this is when I went to Wisconsin last year. We went up to, we went up to the tractor museum up in, it's not McGregor, Iowa, but oh, it's
Dyersville?
Dyersville. Yeah, I went to Dyersville, and that's what it was. And there's this old guy. She is 85 years old. Okay, he had this school. I mean, he's a woodworker. Okay, this is what he's done for a living, and he had tractors, and he had his own display in there inside this museum. Tractors, combines, everything. And you go to the store and you buy your toy tractors, you go buy your Legos, you do whatever. Go to John Deere, they have toys. This guy builds them out of wood. And here's the thing: every component works as it would, short of the hydraulics, that it would if you were to go out in the field and put that piece of machinery. This guy was able to build it with hand and wood and put it together. I mean, some of the greatest craftsmanship I've ever seen on it. And I looked at the guy and I was talking, and I was having a great conversation. He was talking. He was into this. Is like 45 minutes, an hour, and I said, he was talking about his family, and he goes, "My wife thinks it's crazy. My kids think it's dumb, and my grandkids want nothing to do with it." And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a tradesman. I grew up on a farm, right? Been around a lot of different stuff. He's got a skill at 85 years old, hand-eye coordination that can do, things that we try to have computers do this day and age. And I said, I told him, I said, if you were my grandfather, I said, I'd say it. I'd give both testicles to be there and learn everything that I can from you because I mean, he's got a passion for it, and you could just see. I don't want to say the. And I said, I'm sorry for. I hope I didn't upset you. That was not my deal. But I said, you got a skill that once you're gone, your family's gonna not understand or know what that is. And he goes, that's the hardest part. I've wanted to share this for so long, but they're just not willing. They're just not interested. They don't want to open their eyes. And that's where you say, take a look at that person and say, hey, if you want to learn, the opportunities in front of you, you just have to open your eyes and see it. You know, I'll go back to plumbing. I'll make it very simply put. Everybody taught the plumbing, just, boss is an asshole, shit runs downhill, play days on Friday. I've used that before. That's the three things you need to know about plumbing, right? I will tell you, if you can get past the part that, yeah, you know what, everybody goes number two. There's not a lot of people that want to do it, but there's a lot of people that make money in it, and it's a part of life. It is what it is, and you know, you can get mad or whatever, but here's the deal: when your pipe busts or your toilet breaks or this breaks, it's not just a, oh shoot. It's a lot of times it's an emergency and it needs to be dealt with then and there. So that kind of gets you an idea to where you got to look past the stinky part and look at all the opportunity that's there. And I mean, it sounds simple. It is pretty simple, but can you get past the one negative on it? And frankly, there's so little as far as what the negative that we do, unless my drinking guys like dealing with it. I got a guy that's what he does. You can get past the stinky part of it. It's let's take care of customers' needs and people that enjoy doing their job. So, I mean, there's people that suck boogers in hospitals for a living. That's one of my wife's. I mean, let's call it for what it is. What do? I'm a professional booger sucker. Okay. That's my wife's friend, Jeannie, and that's exactly what she is. But somebody's got to do it. You
Yeah.
know, someone's
When we
got.
had last week, when we had those horrible storms go through, and Omaha got hurt worse than we did, and there was something like 100,000 people out of power or something like that. There was linemen and lineswomen over there busting their ass 24 hours a day. It was going around the clock,
Oh yeah,
cleaning all of that up. And the thing, somebody, as you just the way you said it, somebody has to do it.
yeah,
You can't automate that. AI is not going to be able to go out and take a tree out of a power line.
yeah,
That's never going to happen.
yeah. My son, my youngest son Hunter, his girlfriend, her dad is a lineman for Mid America Energy. And everybody, well, you go to school for 6 months a year and you can make 30, $40 an hour. Look at all that easy money. Okay. When it's 10 below and the power lines are because the wind's blowing from the northwest and the snow's blowing in your face, and you're standing on top of a 40-foot bucket with an aluminum pole because you have to fix the power line so you can have the power back on. You tell me how easy that friggin' job is.
Yeah.
They're not getting paid for. I mean, they're getting paid, but they're not getting paid for the times when it's a nice sunny day and they can just drive around and they can look at power lines. They're getting paid when everything goes to crap and you need someone there to do the job. That's what they're getting paid for
Yeah,
because
my
somebody's willing to do
grandfather
it.
did that. Yeah, my
Uh,
grandfather for quite a while worked for Rural Electric Cooperative, I think is
yeah,
what it is up in
REC. Yep.
yeah REC, and he went out and did that. And if there were storms, there's like if he was on call, there'd be times I'd be staying over there, and he would just 2 in the morning off he goes, and
Time to
because
go to
he's the one
work.
on he's the one on call. So and without these people, the whole system crashes.
Absolutely. That's what a lot of our country they don't understand. It's like the people that says, "Oh, we don't need farmers. We can go buy our meat at Albertsons or Hy-Vee or whatever." It's like, how do you think it gets to the store? Somebody's got to grow it. Someone's got to produce. Someone's got to feed it. But I mean, and I just but there's such a disconnect with most of our society and what it takes to really make things go. There's people that know, so I'm not going to say everybody as a whole, but there's a large percentage that have a disconnect. You know, and this guy got a little bit political. Everybody wants open borders. We've heard the whole political debate, but the same people that talk about having open borders, if you go to their property in Washington D.C. or California, wherever they live, I guarantee you, most of them people have gates and security guards at their place where they live. You know why that is? Because they don't want people just tromping onto their property doing what the hell they want. Yeah, there's reasons that we have certain things in place. There's reasons that we have things in place, but most people it just goes over their heads. So
Well, and we've gotten, and again, jumping down that rabbit hole, we've gotten so divided politically that we don't look at things with any sense of logic anymore.
no,
It's strictly, is there a D or an R next to it? And if it's on the other side, I'm going to disagree regardless of what it is.
yeah,
And you need to look at things a little bit more objectively.
yeah. Well, and there's lots of things to look at. I mean, I would probably say at this point I'm probably more of an independent than anything. I tend to vote Republican. But I'm not a huge fan of the moral majority. Uh, I really don't give a shit what someone does in their freaking bedroom. It's none of my goddamn business. And I get in trouble for saying it, but there's some things where people get all worked up over it. It's just like, you know, there's things that you guys can waste all this time and tell me that it's true, and you know, it, it's not worth it's not worth the battle to me, and so, yeah, unfortunately, we as a country are so damn, so damn to make sure that your side is right about a particular topic. You don't care about what it's going to do to to our country or society as a whole. It's like, well, we have to be this way in this issue. It's like, no, you don't. And you know, let's EVs. I'm not a huge fan of EVs. I do believe in I do. I'm not a huge fan of green technology about how it's being promoted. I think it's important to learn how to conserve. I think it's important to look for alternative energy sources. I'm not against any of that. But I think it's a huge mistake when you got the government or you got anybody that's telling you that you have to go with this option and this option only, and that we're going to regulate because we're here to save the earth. The earth was here 5 billion years before we were, and when 100 billion years from now, when we're dead and the ants are ruling the world because they're going to outlive everything, does it really matter?
Yeah, the Earth's going to be just fine. The Earth's
Yeah.
going to, we probably won't.
Yeah, we might be dead. No,
the Earth will be just
no.
fine.
Yeah, and AI, the robots are going to kill us
Yeah,
all.
the robots will take over.
They're going to
That's
say
all that
you're a
it's gonna
bunch of
be.
freaking morons. Get rid of all you humans. So,
I have a friend of mine that he has an electric car, and he is the first to admit about its limitations because he was taking it to Oklahoma, and he called me because he needed help finding a fast charging station because the only one that he had found said it was going to take 12 hours to charge the car.
fantastic.
Yeah. So I got online and was able to jump around and find some things and got him there. And he had, what did he have? I think 4 miles left on his battery when he got there. And what would have happened if that station had been out of order or something and wasn't working, but it hadn't been reported to some, mass site that, because near as I could tell, it was open and it was working. But I'm in Iowa and he's driving in Kansas. So
Well, they don't want you to burn wood in Alaska either, technically, because it's bad for the environment. But you know what? When it's 30 below zero, it is freezing outside. It's about survival. I don't give a shit what the government tells me. I'm about survival. I'm not gonna sit there and freeze my ass off because government says I should not burn wood. It's bad for you. I said, guess what? Being dead's not good for me either. So pick your poison. I mean, it's like, come on. But
there's a new T-shirt we can make up. Being dead's not good for you either.
being dead's not good. I'll wear that around town. So.
Well, I do. Before
maybe
we
I'll
wrap
put a
this,
picture of Bo Pelini on it, so make my Nebraska friends happy.
yeah, that'll work. Before we wrap things up, we want to give an invitation to anyone that would like to be a guest on this podcast. Are you in the trades? Do you have some stories to tell? Are you looking for uh, staffing? Do you want to talk about some of the different things that you personally are looking for? Because that's the goal with
Mm-hmm.
this show, is to encourage people. I mean, I don't think we're, piggybacking too hard on Micro, but, he's kind of the main man and the face of it out there and doing a great job. But
You know what? We need people like Micro, and it's kind of, I still love his damn dirty job stuff, and some of these shows been gone for a while, and they've tried to bring it back, and no, you need people like him, talking about the average Joe, and what they're doing to make the world go by, and you're absolutely right. It's kind of like when they said during COVID, there's non-essential people. I got news for you. The mayor of Chicago, who looked like a freaking Martian, wouldn't let anybody else in Chicago, but she got to go get a haircut to look good. I'm going to tell you what, I would have liked to come to the barber and got my haircut, make look good too. So next time someone tells me there's a non-essential job, the person that sweeps the garbage up, who opens the damn door, all this stuff, don't tell me you're a non-essential worker.
Mm-hmm.
I hate that term. Everybody's got their place. Everybody's got their job. Someone's got a job to do that gives them satisfaction for whatever reason. I may not want to do it, but that does not mean it's not essential.
That's a really good point. You made me think of a time when I was in high school, and it was summertime, so I was working with my father and my grandfather. They had a business framing houses. So it's about 6:30 in the morning, and we're on our way to a job site. And looking at all the traffic that's out on the roads, my grandfather just casually made a comment: "Everybody going to work."
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're designed to do. That's the way all of this works. We're not designed for a full stop. And I think that it caused an awful lot of problems. I get what they were doing and trying to do, but I don't think they fully realized the damage it was going to do at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's just so many variables. It just, yeah. Oh my God, the sky's falling, and it's like, don't get the shot, you're gonna die. Well, now there's this happened. No one got the shots. Fine, everybody got the shots, dropping over dead. Because you took the magic potion, fantastic. So, I mean, it's and that's political too. You just at the end of the day, people want to work. They want to work hard. People want to have a reason to get up in the morning. I mean, and they need to be able to pay the bills. And unless you're able to get on OnlyFans or get to be a, what's it called, a influencer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably like the influencer, but I mean, the reality is, you have to have a satisfaction joy you do. You got to be able to feed your family, provide for your family. Everyone wants to be able to do that. What other people decide to do beyond that is totally their business. And if you're in an opportunity where you're fortunate enough to be in that position where you can do more, that's fantastic. But this is why I would say you can't forget the people who got you there. Um, and yeah, I mean, that janitor at the high school. I tell my youngest son, when they had to do at Lewis Central, they had to do 1 hour a day where they'd go help the student teachers or whatever. Hunter was like the only one. He wanted to go help the janitors. And you know what? He said it was the greatest job. He goes, I got to learn about this and do this and find out what they do. And then he knew where everything was. So if a teacher was looking for something, he called janitor. They'd say Hunter, and he'd go get it. He says, this is a pretty good gig, actually. Now, they don't get paid the greatest in the world, but you know what? Someone gets satisfaction for doing it. So,
well, sir, grateful
yep.
for you as always. It's nice to actually slide back into a chair and do this thing with you again.
Yeah,
even if we're, showing our pretty faces on screen now, as before we were, just hiding out in a studio just with a microphone.
Yeah, and ladies, Todd here may or may not be taking so just throwing that out there. So I'll leave it at that. So
what kind of hell are you trying to get me into here?
Listen, I knew you had your Grinder or Bumble or Tinder account, so so
I had them all.
had them
I
all.
wasn't going to leave any rock unturned, but
Yeah.
everything's shut down now. I've met a wonderful woman, and she even went camping with me. So, yeah,
That's why I stayed warm. I'm sorry. I should have went there. Oh my God. So
thanks for listening to this episode of Circle of Trades. We attempt to get one out every week, so keep looking. And by the way, this is on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. That way you know when it's uploaded. That's the simple way to do it. Just hit that subscribe button.
And if you don't want to look at it, you just want to listen to it, go on to Spotify. Go listen to Iowa Everywhere and listen to Hassel and Chris Williams. And then you get click on to me and then you can go listen to Barn Talk. I mean, who doesn't want to go listen to a bunch of fat farmers from Southeast Iowa talk about farming? I mean, it's great.
All right, sir. Until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.